Alright, so John Colo at DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and do a juice-off comparison against one of the best sellers of all times, actually. It's the Breville Juice Fountain Cold. This is actually a centrifugal ejection high-speed juicer, which unfortunately, in my opinion, is the most commonly sold juicer today. Some of the top juicers on famous big box websites are centrifugal ejection machines, and while they have their pros, like they are fast, they have a lot of cons, such as they are very loud, they don't tend to juice certain produce items very well and get a high yield, as well as they add a lot of oxygen and oxidize your juice. Meanwhile, over on this side, we have more modern technology. We have a Hurom H70 Easy Clean Juicer. This is a cold press slow juicer that runs at a low and slow 60 revolutions per minute, whereas this one at its high speed runs at 13,000 revolutions per minute. That's like, what, 200 times faster. Even at 6,500 RPM, it's still like 108 times faster, and that's on the low speed setting. Anyways, in this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and show you guys how these machines work so you can understand them more intimately. And then we're going to have a juice-off comparison where we juice even amounts of citrus in both machines. So first up, I want to dispel some of the lies and myths out there in the juicing world. There's a lot of people that claim high-speed juicers heat your juice. And like, based on my testing, link down below to that video, high-speed juicers actually do not heat your juice. Actually, they can cool your juice because the parts are stainless steel, and that can transfer the cold from the vegetable to make the juice a little bit colder, actually, than out of a slow juicer. That's why Breville started putting the word cold in their title to emphasize that their machines do not heat up the juice. What they don't tell you is that their machines significantly add lots of oxygen to the juice that can cause excessive oxidation and lower nutrition quality. While many influencers may say this, and I'll say this, I just don't say this. I will back up what I say with published scientific studies. The link down below to this study is below if you guys want to read it yourself. Anyways, in this study, they basically tested, the title is Antioxidant Activities of Fresh Grape Juice Prepared Using Various Household Processing Methods. One of the methods was a low-speed juicer, such as the Hurom H70, and one of them was a high-speed centrifugal, such as the Breville. And we're going to go ahead and pop up a couple graphs on the screen for you that I have right here. Will pop up so you guys can see them in big print, and you can see total polyphenol content. Polyphenols are a component of fruits and vegetables that, in my opinion, have some of the most beneficial properties. And as you guys can see, the LSM, which is low speed masticating, which is a slow juicer like the Hurom H70, produce significantly more polyphenols than the high speed centrifugal. That's the HSC. And of course, they did show even a blender is better than a high-speed centrifugal juicer, but not as good as a low-speed masticating juicer. So it was like 100 versus like over 300. So like literally 3 times more polyphenols when you choose the right juicer. Now this test was with grapes. Of course, depending on what item you're juicing, the nutrition, variables and quantities will vary. Next up, total flavonoids, another very important component of fruits and vegetables. Once again, the low-speed masticating, it looks like it was over 50 in milligrams of flavonoids, whereas the high-speed centrifugal was under 20. So over 2 times more nutrition produced by a slow juicer. Next up, anthocyanins. That's what makes the purple or red or grapes red or purple. And that's a very important component of nutrients. It's mostly contained in the skin in grapes. And when you put the skin in a low-speed masticating juicer, the skin is chewed up very well. And as you guys could see, it resulted in about 35 milligrams of anthocyanins in the juice. And the same grapes put in a high-speed juicer, you can't even say how much that is, man. It's maybe 5 milligrams. I mean, that's a pittance, guys. Like, I don't know, what is it, like 10 times more anthocyanins from using low-speed juicer. And I'll show you guys this when I demonstrate juicing exact amounts of citrus in both machines. And then finally, let's talk about vitamin C. Vitamin C is a very important nutrient for our health, for our immune system, for our collagen, for our skin. And as you guys can see, you know, the low-speed masticating was like, I think, almost 0.8, whereas the high-speed centrifugal was under 0.2. So that's at least 4 times more vitamin C produced in a low-speed masticating juicer based on a published study. I reviewed many studies over the years, and always, especially if you're looking at nutrients that are oxygen sensitive, right? Those nutrients degrade quicker in an oxygen-rich environment, like literally putting lots of oxygen in the juice, as I will show you guys in a minute. That's one of the major downsides of the high-speed machines. Once again, the upside is that they cost less, the machine. Number 2, they're done faster, right? But you're losing nutrients, so you got to ask yourself, you know, what is more important to you, speed or your health, right? All right, so anyways, with that, let's go ahead and start taking each of these machines apart so I could share with you guys how they work. We'll start with a Breville. It's the most easy. There's a latch that actually does not allow the machine to come on unless it's properly latched, and then it's a fairly simple unit. You have the feed chute here. This has a nice wide 3-inch feed chute, so you can put in whole apples and whole cut up, you know, fruits and large vegetables and just push them in the machine. Very nice. And then once you push them in the machine, what happens is the fruits and vegetables are now put into this little grating disc. This is like, you know, one of those graters you would grate your cheese on. This basically micro grates up the fruits and vegetables, and the exact time it is grated up, juice is released. So as it's grated up, the juice is released. This is spinning at a high speed, and what happens is the juice is now flung out the tiny holes in this juicing screen and comes out in this bowl, which then gets flung out into the juice collection cup, and the pulp is flung around. It doesn't go through the holes. It basically comes back up and then is ejected out the back of the machine. So this is basically it basically grinds and shreds and then kicks out the pulp and extracts the juice. It doesn't squeeze it or press it. It just relies on centrifugal force to get it out. This is actually not very good when you're juicing something watery, you know, like citrus or grapes, or even doesn't really work effectively when you're juicing something like leafy greens, because the greens will get micro shredded up, a little juice will come out, and then basically whole pieces of leaves will come out, and you're not going to get a lot of juice from your leafy greens. That being said, this style machine is very effective for juicing things like carrots and beets. All right, and then of course you have the juicing bowl here. And this is where the juice gets flung into and then basically comes out. Now, the interesting thing about this juicing bowl is most juicing bowls have the spout on the bottom of the juicing bowl, so that you would think, hey, the juice falls down through gravity and then the juice falls out. But the juice spout on this machine is actually high up. That's because this machine literally relies on the high-speed air to literally blow out the juice out the front of this machine. Which, once again, they're really relying on the oxygen and emphasizing the fact and aerating the juice even more, in my opinion. Now, that being said, when you're done, you will need to clean this bowl, which is fairly easy. This juicing screen that is the most complex, you have to clean this off. I do recommend using a brush versus a sponge that could get tore up on these graters. And then also, all these holes have the propensity to get clogged when you are cleaning it. Some people say that these machines are a pain to clean. I don't think they're a pain, but definitely they can be challenging, especially on the juicing screen, depending if you're juicing things that are going to get stuck in there, like, you know, beets and carrots. And of course, this piece is fairly easy to clean as well. So to assemble this, you just basically put this juicing bowl on, drop in the blade, put on the top, snap that back into place, and we are all assembled. Next up, over on the Kuvings H70, totally different beast. This is a modern state-of-the-art machine. It literally was released in 2024. It's Hurom's latest model in the United States, and it has the latest juicing technology. So let's go ahead and pull this assembly off. Definitely a little bit taller. First up, we're going to go ahead and take off the hopper. So unlike this machine, we actually got to put a produce item in and then push it in. And if you leave this up, put something in, something could spray out the top on you. This works a little bit differently. What this does, this has like a hopper. So So what you do is you could open this up, and while this has like a 3-inch wide hole, this hole is a lot larger. You could literally put much larger pieces and more fruits and vegetables in here. And what happens is you just load this up, and there's a processing blade here at the bottom that spins around, and this processing blade will cut up the fruits and vegetables into smaller pieces and then feed it through this little hole in the bottom in the machine to get processed. This runs at, once again, 60 revolutions per minute, a lot slower, a lot more quiet. And then also too, once you load this up, you can literally walk away and let the machine work without you, whereas with this machine, you have to stand over the machine and constantly fill it up with produce. After the produce gets chopped up and then drops down the bottom of this, it goes into the next section. This is where the juice is literally crushed and squeezed. So what happens here is on this auger, what happens is the produce now comes between the outside of the auger. It kind of gets crushed up and then goes down the outside of the auger and between the auger and the juicing bowl. And as the produce works its way down through this, it basically is crushed and squeezed up between the auger and the side of the juicing bowl. There are these little lines in the juicing bowl, and these are like grind points. So a lot of these little grinding points grind up the produce. As the produce is grind and crushed and literally squeezed, the juice comes out. And instead of being flung out at high speed, what happens on this machine is that if you look carefully, there's no juicing screen to clean. That makes this machine like easy to clean. The easiest to clean actually takes me 60 seconds. So what happens is this is a 2-part auger that actually comes apart. And you guys can see there's a large gap here, but when we put this together, there's a very thin gap in between these 2 segments of the auger. What happens is the juice then falls into the auger as the pulp keeps running down, and the juice that runs in comes out the middle of the auger, which then comes out the middle of the bowl here, which then comes out the spout here. And the pulp that runs on the outside between the wall of the bowl and the auger then comes out the outer channel here, which then comes out where the pulp is ejected. See, on this machine, the pulp is literally crushed, ground up, squeezed, and cold pressed out, and the pulp then comes out this little spout. At the same time it's coming out this little spout, there's a silicone flap in here. The job of this flap is to basically keep the pulp in there so that it doesn't come out until it's more dry. So this will get a higher yield, especially on things like fruits and leafy greens, than say a high-speed machine that basically just grinds, flings it out as fast as possible. All right. So when you're done juicing with this machine, you have this main bowl part to clean. You have a 2-piece auger here, and then you have the hopper. So I mean, you had like 3 parts on that: the bowl, the screen, the hopper, and you have pretty much 3 parts to clean as well. Keep in mind that this just comes apart to wash off. Now the other thing about this machine is that I just spray this off with high pressure water, right? If I sprayed that off with high pressure water, it's not going to be clean. You do need to brush that screen out, otherwise pulp will clog the screen, dry in the screen, and then subsequent uses there'll be less holes in the screen to allow juice out, meaning your yield's going to go down and the machine will not be as effective. Likewise, on the blade there, the blade is known to dull, especially if you're juicing hard things like carrots and beets. Over time that blade will get dull and you'll have to buy a replacement blade. Whereas on this machine, there's no sharp blades or grinders to wear out. This basically just grind up as you put it in there, and I've never seen an auger style machine wear out. Alright, so yeah, some of the main benefits of the Hurom H70. Alright, so to assemble this, you're just going to take the 2-piece auger, drop that in. You're going to go ahead and then take the main hopper. There's a little line right here. You line up with the padlock here to unlock, and then you just close that so that the lines line up to the line and the padlock, and you're all ready to go. You drop that in the main motor body. Now, I also want to tell you guys the warranty. While you are paying more for a Hurom H70 than you are for a Breville, right, the warranty is much longer, right? The warranty on the Breville is like 1 year long, which is really a short warranty in juicers, guys. Whereas the warranty on the Hurom H70 is now a full 15 years in the United States for not only the motor, but also all the juicing parts. This is the best warranty you guys are going to get, meaning like this is like the last juicer you're going to have to buy. Meanwhile, like if this machine fails in a year and a half, you got to buy a new one because it's not covered under warranty. I want you guys to invest in a quality appliances that have long warranties so that you are covered should it break down, so that you can continue to juice for you and your family and turn your health around and get more beneficial fruits and vegetables in you. So that's how these two machines work. Next up, I want to go ahead and do a sound test. You know, this is very important if you have, especially if you have family or live with roommates and you want to juice in the morning, you know, before you go to work and, you know, everybody else is sleeping because you get up early. Let's find out. I have a digital sound meter right here. First up, we're going to turn on the Hurom H70 that runs a low and slow 60 revolutions per minute. Alright, so we're peaking out at 69 decibels, so that's actually quite quiet. Even if you have thin walls in your apartment, you could probably still juice in the morning and not wake up your neighbors so they don't bang on your wall. Alright, next up, let's go ahead and try the Breville. We're going to turn on the high speed mode. Alright, high speed mode on the Breville, 13,000 revolutions per minute, over 200 times faster. Alright, that peaks out at 80 decibels, so that's over 10 decibels higher. And of course, this is running empty. Once you start putting food in there, it's going to get a lot more loud. So, you know, once again, one of the downsides of this machine is that it is quite loud. Lower nutrition, but it costs less, but it has a shorter warranty. So you have to determine what factors are most important for you when buying a juicer. For me, I got into juicing for my health, so nutrition is paramount, and that's why, aside from some videos I do like this where I compare juicers against a high-speed machine, you won't find me using a high-speed juicer in my home. So now that you guys know how each of these machines work, I want to go ahead and do an actual juice off comparison where I juice even amounts of Tangelos in both machines so you guys can see how these machines perform. So we got 983.7 grams of Tangelos on each scale, and that's what we're going to be juicing in each juicer. All right, so I think I'll juice in the Breville Juice Fountain Cold first. It's going to be the fastest, but it's going to also be the loudest. There are two speeds. Generally, you want to run it in high speed mode for juicing hard vegetables like beets and carrots, and softer fruits should be put on the lower speed, which may extract a little bit higher yield. Once again, high speed runs at 13,000 RPMs, and some people describe this as an airplane taking off in your kitchen because it's really loud, like a jet engine. And then, of course, the low speed runs at 6,500 RPMs. I'll be using the slower 6,500 RPM speed. All right, so we're running at the slow speed. All we got to do is take a tangerine, throw it in there, and just basically push this in. You guys can see instantly the juice is coming out. As fast as we push these in is as fast as the juice comes out, which is quite amazing. We're going to have juice in no time in the Breville. Before I even knew it, the machine is done. It's created a juice. It's actually quite aerated. I want you guys to pay attention to that. And now we can go ahead and turn off the machine. So yeah, once again, benefit was it's super quick, a little bit messy, but put lots of air in the juice. And look at the color of that juice, guys. That'll be interesting. Meanwhile, over on the Hurom H70, it's going to be a lot easier to use because literally we're just going to go ahead and open up this lid. I like to basically segment out the oranges in half. You don't need to do this. You could put them in whole, but if you break them into smaller pieces, the machine's going to be a little bit more efficient so that it doesn't have to chop up things as much. So we're just going to do this in the quarters. Not a big deal. All right, last Tangelo going in, and then we just shut the lid, right? That's literally all you need to do in the Hurom H70. The next thing you do is just turn the machine on. So we're just going to go ahead and turn that machine on, have the spout cap open, and now we don't have to do anything. Like we could literally, and I will be, leaving the room to allow the machine to juice without me. Now I instantly want to let you guys know and want you guys to look at the color of this juice compared to the color of that juice, right? This is a lot more deep, rich, orange color, and before we know it, the pulp is slowly coming out of the Hurom H70. This is the amazing technology of the Hurom H70 that it juices without you. You don't have to do nothing. as you guys can see, the Hurom H70 is working great. I will say that actually one of the Tangerine segments got impaled on the processing blade. So we're gonna have to stop it, open it up, and we're just gonna have to unimpale it. Once again, if you cut things into smaller pieces, this generally does not happen. But let's just go ahead. I'm sharing with you guys what actually happens. So unimpaled it, put it back in, and now the Tangelos are getting juiced. And you guys can see our juice is coming out, as is all the Tangelo pulp from the Tangelos. I'm going to go ahead and let the Hurom H70 finish on up. Alright, so it looks like the Hurom H70 has about finished up. How do you know it's done? Well, the pulp stops moving out and the juice stops dripping. Always I like to turn the machine off when I'm done, and I'll pick it up and just basically tip this down. You guys can see we're getting a little bit more juice to come out of the machine. We're going to go ahead and finally set that down, put the spout cap down, and now we're going to go ahead and turn this up so we don't get any drips. And let's go ahead and move these juices up front and center to compare actually what we got. So you guys don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that, you know, this juice is a lot more orange, like a deeper, richer color, right, than this machine. And I'll explain why that is, but let's go ahead and see how much each of these juicers actually made. Alright guys, let's go ahead and do a close-up on the juices for you, because this is very important. I mean, number one, just look at the juices. Which juice looks more nutritious? If you're saying the juice from the Breville, I think you must be on something. Because look at the main difference, alright? So over on the Hurom, we have a nice, really deep, rich, orange colored juice. Yes, there's a little bit of separation at the bottom. I'm not going to say it will never separate. But if we look at the Breville juice, I mean, number one, it's like yellowish. It's not even orange. We got about 230 milliliters of juice that has been separated out. And then if we just look closely, like this, to me, I mean, you could just almost call this all foam. I mean, if I look really closely, there's really distinctive layers of the foam. So I mean, I might be nice and say up to 500 milliliters looks like it could be juice. And then, but above 500, clearly 500, 600, 700, almost to 800 milliliters is basically like a foam layer. Like 300 milliliters of foam, and we got basically 500 milliliters of juice that is completely separated and of very low quality. Meanwhile, over on the H70, you know, I'm not going to say there's no foam. I will say that there's like 790 milliliters of juice, almost 800. And that if we look at the foam layer, I mean, we probably got about maybe 50, 60 milliliters of foam. So yeah, there's some foam, but nowhere is it near anywhere from like 300 milliliters of foam. Once again, looking at the top, you guys can see the foam bubbles. They're nice large bubbles indicating lots of foam. And foam is basically aerated juice. Meanwhile, over on the Hurom H70, yes, there's some foam. But the bubbles are a lot more tight and you could almost see the juice through it, whereas on the Breville, you basically, it's like just foam. All right. Going back once again, 790 milliliters of juice compared to about 500 milliliters of juice. That's a 58% increase by just using a better juicer. All right, guys, so what did you guys think of the juice that was made? I mean, this is why I don't like high-speed machines, right? So not only did you see that this machine made less juice, it put a lot more, significantly more oxygen in the juice. The juice is not as deeply colored, right? That's what I'm trying to share in this published study where it shows the data. You know, we'll pop up those 4 graphs. Once again, you can see LSM kicks butt on polyphenols, flavonoids, anthocyanins, and vitamin C. And literally we are seeing the color difference, and the deeper color, once again, more flavonoids, polyphenols, vitamin C, than the lighter color that's with a lot more oxygen or foam that aerates those oxygen sensitive nutrients and diminishes them. This is especially important over time. So if you use a high-speed machine, because that's all you got, minimally, guys, at least get it out of the machine and get it into you as quickly as possible. I do not recommend storing these juices at all. If you guys want to store this juice, I could say store it in an ambient, you know, container. Just putting a seal on it overnight is reasonable. But if you suck an oxygen out or put a vacuum on it, You know, I store juices made in a slow juicer for up to 5 days. No problem whatsoever. All right, next up, I want to go ahead and taste test the two juices. First, we'll taste the Breville juice. As I pour, it kind of pours off the bottom. Once again, you guys can see this is almost like a yellowish juice, not an orange juice, because the orange has been diluted down with air, makes it a lighter color. Plus, a lot of the pigments were not extracted because of the way this machine works. It's just really mild, tastes like water, a little bit of flavoring to me. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and try the Hurom H70 juice. A lot more rich and thick. I will say there is more pulp in this juice for sure. Much better mouthfeel. So instead of being thin like water, this is more, I would say, but like a nectar. If you had like Kern's nectar when you were a kid like I did, this is more like a nectar. To me, it tastes a lot sweeter. There's some nice mouthfeel particulate. And you get more of that zing. You get more of the zing of the Tangelo, because the Manolo Tangelos are actually a cross between like a tangerine and like a grapefruit, right? And actually in this juice, I'm really not tasting the zing. I'm just tasting a little bit of sweet water without a lot of flavor. Wow. That's a huge difference, guys, in taste. So, yeah, maybe some of you guys like things more muted. I like the full flavor of the slow juicer. Next up, let's go ahead and compare what each juicer put out, right? So over on the Hurom H70, let's go ahead and dig my finger in here to try to get some of this pulp out. You guys can see this is the pulp that was ejected from the Hurom H70. Next up, let's go ahead and get all the pulp out of the Breville. All right, first up, out of this container here, we're going to dump the pulp out. And look at that. You guys can see, I mean, this is just like juice is coming out of this container because the pulp is just super wet, guys. There's like juice at the bottom here swishing around. So let's go ahead and get all this pulp out to show you guys. All right, so more than just the pulp that came out of the machine, there's still a lot of pulp buildup inside the unit itself. So let's go ahead and scrape some of this off too. All right, now let's go ahead and do the full comparison. You guys can see, like, literally, look at the difference. You guys see the difference in volume? We put the same amount of Tangelos in, but we got a lot different out, right? Once again, we got less juice here. That's because there's still juice that's in this pulp. Like, you can see it running around on the bottom of this tray, whereas this tray is completely dry. If I squeeze it, I mean, I can't squeeze, maybe there's like one drop I could squeeze out, but literally we're just mashing pulp up at this point. That's because the Hurom H70 crushes, grinds, and squeezes and gets the pulp drier than a high-speed machine that has no apparatus to squeeze the pulp. It literally grinds it and kicks it out as fast as possible. And then you end up with something super wet. So I always have fun in these machines because this is where I can show you how beneficial a slow juicer is. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take the pulp that came out of the Breville and we're going to basically just drop that in to the Hurom H70 to see if we could extract more juice out of it. All right, so we got the juice loaded up. Let's go ahead and now put another collection cup down here and turn it on, and we're going to rejuice the pulp. What I will tell you guys is that I've rejuiced the pulp, you know, out of the Hurom H70 in the Hurom H70 to even get a higher yield, which you don't get a lot of juice. But in this case, where we're juicing super wet pulp from a Breville, right, this shows how inefficient the Breville is because literally there is juice left in the pulp that now the Hurom H70 is extracting. This is the amazing technology of slow juicing that can get even higher yields than high-speed machines on things like fruits, like I'm juicing today, and especially leafy greens. You know, I would say leafy greens are definitely a lot more important than juicing fruits, but I know plenty of you guys out there want to juice your fruits as well. And I'll say for sure the Hurom H70 is a better juicer for juicing fruits than a Breville that's high speed. All right, it looks like the Hurom H70 has extracted out the wet pulp from the Breville. Let's go ahead and turn this off. Once again, I always like to lift this up and get any last bits of juice to come out. I will say the juice that has come out this round is definitely a bit more thick. Definitely has some fiber in there. And now I want to show you guys actually the pulp. So after we put the Breville pulp back through the Hurom H70, this is what we got. You guys saw what it looked like before and even after. Looks even drier than the original pulp from the Hurom H70 because it literally went through one extraction and a second extraction. We literally just got mush. If I squeeze this, I'm just squeezing mush and I'm actually just making a mess. I can't squeeze any juice out of it with my bare hands, which is impressive. And if we look at this little container here, looks like we got maybe 190 more milliliters of juice by squeezing out the Breville pulp. And we're going to go ahead and try this juice. Once again, this juice is a lot deeper color, not quite as deep as the original juice we made in the Hurom H70, because once again, this pulp ran through the machine. It was oxidized, so it lowered some of the nutrition. Plus, running the pulp through is going to get a little bit thicker juice with more of the white pith of the Tangelos, which will make it more nutritious. Pouring this out, definitely a little bit more thick. And let's go ahead and taste this up. Wow. This one almost tastes like a smoothie to me, guys. Like, it's that thick. Definitely more muted. So what I will say is that while this is a more nutritious juice, it's not as sweet because first time through, the Breville basically extracted, I mean, for all practical purposes, like a sugar water. And when I juiced the rest through here, I got more of a, you know, without the sugar, but I got more of the fiber, actually. So some of the polyphenols, flavonoids from the Tangelos. Amazing taste, thicker, but yet not as sweet. So in this episode, we learned a few things. Number one, we learned through this published science that high-speed machines get lower oxygen-sensitive nutrients, including polyphenols, flavonoids, antioxidant activity, and vitamin C, right? You learned how these machines work, why they're different. These are just basically grind and kick out stuff as fast as they can, whereas slow juicers slowly crush, squeeze, and cold press out the juice, retaining much more nutrition, and especially in this episode, a lot more juice, 58% more juice that had a lot less aeration than a high-speed juice. It made a more flavorful juice, which translates to, once again, more of those valuable nutrients. We also learned that the Breville is so ineffective that we could put the pulp that's still sopping wet through the Hurom H70 and then squeeze out like almost 200 more milliliters of juice, right? That's a deeper, richer color, has more nutrition than the juice that even came out of the Breville the first time. So I guess to sum this video up, where I declare the winner of this juice off, I mean, to me this is a no-brainer. If speed is the most important, then of course you're going to want to stick with a Breville. But if nutrition is important to you, like it is important to me, as I've proven time and time again on my YouTube channel, through published studies and through actual real-world experience, right, you're going to save more money, get more nutrition by extracting more nutrition out of your juice when using a slow juicer. I happen to like the Hurom H70, and it's a juicer that I use most in my home these days because literally when I'm done, I just spray it off, no scrubbing required like I will have to do on the Breville. It takes me literally 60 seconds to clean. If you guys are ready to up your juicing game from a high-speed machine to a cold-pressed juicer, I would recommend the Hurom H70. And I'm here because I started my company DiscountJuicers.com in 1998 to save you guys the most money and, more importantly, educate the world about the different styles of juicers so that you don't get the wool pulled over your eyes by other influencers that don't know what the heck they're talking about, telling you guys that high-speed juicers heat up the juice, right? Not making you aware of some of the latest machines on the market that have greater benefits than other machines on the market, right? And I still live true to my name today, Discount Juicers, because I'm going to save you guys a minimum of 10% off the Hurom H70 by using the coupon code CITRUS at Hurom.com. When you guys use that coupon code at Hurom, not only will you save a minimum of 10%, which is about $59.99, almost $60 right now, it may be even a greater discount depending on the promotion that Hurom has running. I know a little bit earlier it was like $80 off, but I never know what promotion they're running, but my coupon codes will always ensure you guys get the lowest price on the Hurom juicers. Once again, this has a full 15-year warranty. It's probably the last juicer you're going to need to buy. It's easy to use. You load it up, walk away, you come back, drink your juice, store it for later if you want, and then you just basically spray it down for a minute and you're done cleaning, and you could be off your day doing other things more important than dealing with pushing produce in the machine, scrubbing the juicer, right? This is why I love the Hurom H70 so much, and it's the machine I use most these days. And when you guys use that coupon code, not only will you save the most money, but Hurom will share with me a small commission so I can continue to make these educational videos for you guys. Take my time to look up published studies and make these videos to share with you guys. Pay my light bill, buy my Tangerines, pay my video editor. So I want to thank you guys so much who will use my coupon code so you guys save the most money and also allow me to continue my mission to spread the knowledge and joy about juicers, juicing, and the best appliances out there to fit you and your lifestyle. So if you guys enjoyed this episode learning more about the high speed versus the low speed Hurom H70, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. More importantly, share this with other people that are using a Breville high-speed juicer or other high-speed juicer to really shed some light on the subject on why using the high-speed juicer is not the best if you guys are doing this for your health. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on new and upcoming episodes. I'm coming out about every 5 to 7 days. You don't know what new juicers I'll be unboxing, what juicer comparisons or juicing knowledge bombs I'll be dropping on here, or what other appliances I'll be sharing with you guys that will allow you to process more fruits and vegetables and other plant foods in the best ways possible so that you guys could have the most health benefit. Also, make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check out past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. I have over 900 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to comparing and contrasting all the different major brand juicers so that you find the exact right one for you. I'll put links down below to some of my favorite videos I've made in the past with the Hurom H70, including my unboxing video that you want to watch so you can learn all about this amazing machine. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors.